Judge orders God to break up into smaller deities. God has willfully and actively thwarted competition from other deities and demigods, promoting his worship with such unfair scare tactics as threatening non-believers with eternal damnation. In the process, he has carved out for himself an illegal monotheopoly. Judge Charles Eliot Schofield. In compliance with Monday's decision, God must divest all holdings in churches, synagogues, and mosques, cede miracle-performing services to local deities, cease and desist strong-arm tactic of smiting non-believers, and allow competition from pagan gods and animalistic spirits. What this means for worshippers: quicker prayer response time, likely reduction in yearly tithes and tributes, wider selection of specialized deities, and no reprisals for false idol worship. Washington, D.C., calling the theological giant's stranglehold on the religion industry blatantly anti-competitive, a U.S. district judge ruled Monday that God is in violation of anti-monopoly laws and ordered him to be broken up into several less powerful deities. The evidence introduced in this trial has convinced me that the deity known as God has willfully and actively thwarted competition from other deities and demigods, promoting his worship with such unfair scare tactics as threatening non-believers with eternal damnation, wrote District Judge Charles Eliot Schofield in his decision. In the process, he has carved out for himself an illegal monotheopoly. The suit, brought against God by the Justice Department on behalf of a coalition of lesser deities and polytheistic mortals, alleged that he violated antitrust laws by claiming in the Holy Bible that he was the sole creator of the universe, and by strictly prohibiting the worship of what he termed false idols. God clearly commands that there shall be no other gods before him, and he frequently employs the phrase, "I am the Lord," to intimidate potential deserters. Prosecuting attorney Geoffrey Albert said, God uses other questionable strong-arm tactics to secure and maintain humanity's devotion, demanding, among other things, that people sanctify their firstborn to him and obtain circumcision as a show of faith. There have also been documented examples of him smiting those caught worshipping graven images. Attorneys for God did not deny such charges. They did, however, note that God offers followers unbeatable incentives in return for their loyalty, including eternal salvation, protection from harm, and fruitfulness. God was the first to approach the Jewish people with a covenant contract that guaranteed they would be the most favored in his eyes, and he handed down standards of morality, cleanliness, and personal conduct that exceeded anything else practiced at the time. Lead defense attorney Patrick Childers said, he readily admits to being a jealous God, not because he is threatened by the prospect of competition from other gods, but because he is utterly convinced of the righteousness of his cause, and that he is the best choice for mortals. Many of these so-called gods couldn't care less if somebody bears false witness or covets their neighbor's wife. Our client, on the other hand, is truly a people's God. In the end, however, God was unable to convince Schofield that he did not deliberately create a marketplace hostile to rival deities. God's attorneys attempted to convince the judge of his openness to rivals, pointing to his long-time participation in the Holy Trinity. But the effort failed when Schofield determined that Jesus Christ and the Holy Ghost are more God subsidiaries than competitors. To comply with federal antitrust statutes, God will be required to divide himself into a pantheon of specialized gods. each representing a form of nature or a specific human custom, occupation, or state of mind. There will most likely be a sun god, moon god, sea god, and rain god, said religion industry watcher Catherine Bailey. There will be some second-tier deities, like a god of wine, a goddess of the harvest, and perhaps a few who symbolize human love and or blacksmithing. Leading theologians are applauding the god breakup, saying it will usher in a new era of greater worshipping options, increased efficiency, and more personalized service. God's prayer response system has been plagued by massive, chronic backlogs, and many prayers have gone unanswered in the process, said Jean Sweezy, a Phoenix area Wiccan. With polytheism, you pray to the deity specifically devoted to your concern. If you wish to have children, you pray to the fertility goddess. If you want to do well on an exam, you pray to the god of wisdom, and so on. This decentralization will result in more individualized service and swifter response times. Other religion experts are not so confident that the breakup is for the best, pointing to the chaotic nature of polytheistic worship, and noting that multiple gods demand an elaborate regimen of devotion that today's average worshipper may find arduous and inconvenient. If people want a world in which they must lay burnt offerings before an earthenware household god to ensure that their car will start on a cold winter morning, I suppose they can have it, said Father Thomas Reinhold, theology professor at Chicago's Loyola University. What's more, lesser deities are infamous for their mercurial nature. They often meddle directly in diplomatic affairs, abduct comely young mortal women for their concubines, and are not above demanding an infant or two for sacrifice. Monotheism, for all its faults, at least means convenience, stability, and a consistent moral code. One deity who is welcoming the verdict is the ancient Greek god Zeus, who described himself as jubilant and absolutely vindicated. For thousands of years, I've been screaming that this third-rate sky deity ripped me off wholesale, said Zeus, speaking from his Mount Olympus residence. Every good idea he ever had he took from me. Who first created men in his own image? Who punished mankind for its sins? Who lived eternally up in the clouds? The whole fearsome, patriarchal, white-beard thunderbolt thing? I was doing that eons before this two-bit hustler started horning in on the action. Lawyers for God say they plan to appeal Schofield's ruling and are prepared to go all the way to the Supreme Court if necessary. This decision is a crushing blow to God worshippers everywhere, and we refuse to submit to a breakup until every possible avenue of argument is pursued, Childer said. I have every confidence that God will ultimately win, as he and his lawyers are all powerful. Haunted tape measure unsure how to demonstrate hauntedness. Okay. Next article. Okay. Annoying ad turns man pro whaling. From Nashua, New Hampshire. A TV ad for WellSave sufficiently irritated a local resident, Nathan Mims, to cause him to reverse his long-time anti-whaling stance. Gosh, this is annoying, said Mims during a Monday airing of the spot, which features images of majestic whales rising out of the ocean as Enya's Fallen Embers plays. Bleep the whales. I'd rather they go extinct if it means never having to see this ad again. Okay. Actors decide to go on with sitcom despite cancellation. Burbank, California. Showing the heart and determination that was the show's hallmark through its 13-week run, stars of NBC's Stop the Presses have decided to go on with the series in spite of its February 5th cancellation. I think all the pieces were in place to make this show a big hit, said Troy Drake, who played Stan Big Sticks Hatch, a former pro hockey player who moved back to his hometown of Petaluma, California, to write the sports columns for the Petaluma Gazette. It just needed more time to gel than the network was willing to give. Well, now we have all the time we need. Though cancellation ordinarily marks the end of a series, the actors agreed that there was still work to be done. Every show gets shelved eventually, said Drake, speaking from the show's new set in the parking lot of a local Ralph's food store. But we couldn't bear the thought of abruptly cutting off all those storylines midstream. I think I speak for the entire cast when I say we all want to see Bill and Andrea will eventually give in to the long-simmering tension between them. And next episode, Jesse's kooky parents swing by for a visit and wreak all kinds of chaos in our life. And that's pretty scary considering how chaotic Jesse's life already is. The news of the cancellation was a shock to the cast and crew. No one, however, was more upset than Eddie White, who played Lance Roberts, a cocky, hotshot account executive at the Petaluma Gazette, with a weakness for the ladies. Just 1 week before NBC announced the cancellation, White passed up a sizable part in an upcoming Rob Schneider movie to do Stop the Presses. When I found out about the cancellation, I was devastated, because this was a project I truly believed in, said White, rummaging through the cardboard box that is now the wardrobe department. Our first 13 episodes really showed progress. We started coming together as an ensemble, and the writing got steadily tighter. Despite losing their writing staff, directors, producers, camera operators, technical crew, set, props, and wardrobe, as well as the network on which to air the show, the Stop the Presses actors remain optimistic they will succeed. We have a remarkable cast with tremendous chemistry, said Christine Jagerveld, who plays Jeanne Clark, the gruff, hard-nosed, secretly lonely publisher of the Gazette. That's half the battle right there. And we were always ad-libbing and improvising, so scripts aren't a problem either. Added Jagerveld, we don't even think of ourselves as the cast of a weekly sitcom anymore. We're a family. This whole ordeal has brought us closer together than we ever imagined possible. Drake said he was genuinely surprised when ABC, CBS, Fox, UPN, WB, HBO, Showtime, Cinemax, MTV, VH1, Comedy Central, Lifetime, Nickelodeon, the Sci-Fi Channel, Bravo, A&E, Home Shopping Network, TV Land, the Discovery Channel, the Food Network, CNN, Oxygen, Noggin, the Cartoon Network, ESPN, and ESPN2 passed on Stop the Presses as a mid-season replacement. I really thought Telemundo was going to bite, Drake said. Or local cable access channel 97. But if no one wants a weekly dose of living, learning, and laughing that Stop the Presses provides, that's fine by us. This is going to be a breakthrough year for Stop the Presses. Mark my words. If the networks and the hundreds of syndicated affiliates don't want to be a part of it, screw them. Ask why the cast plans to continue with a show that had neither viewers nor network support. Drake cited a few of his favorite moments from Stop the Presses. Remember the episode where tight-tongued copy editor Patty got her hand stuck in the photocopier? Drake said. Or the one where Bill and Andrea got stuck together in the elevator? There have been a million moments like that, and from what I've seen of this new season, there are going to be a million more. Bloodied, but not unbowed, the Stop the Presses cast is certain that the show will have a long and successful run. We're all excited and optimistic about what lies ahead, Drake said. Barring a rash of heavy rain showers, we just might have an Emmy-winning season on our hands. Okay. Next article. Treasury Department badly needs ones and fives. Washington, D.C. Critically low on small denominations, the Treasury Department put out an urgent call for ones and fives Monday. If we don't get some soon, we're going to run out, Deputy Treasury Secretary Kenneth Dunn said. And right now, we have no one we can send to the Bureau of Engraving and Printing to grab more. The Executive Secretary, Jeffrey Kupfer, is in Federal Trade Commission meetings all day, and Undersecretary Peter Fisher is too new to handle cash. Though Dunn said he suspects there may be a fully stocked tray of cash in the department's safe, the only one who knows the combination is Secretary Paul O'Neill, who is at an economic summit in Stockholm until Saturday. The shortfall, Dunn said, is the result of the unusually busy day the department is having. For some reason, all the banks want ones and fives today, Dunn said. Usually it's 20s we run low on first, because everyone needs them for their cash machines. But today, it's the small stuff. In addition to a sign on the Alexander Hamilton statue in front of the Treasury building, Dunn posted a handwritten notice on the front door reading, "We need ones and fives. Any that you have will be hugly thick. Appreciated. Thus far, no one has come forward." The appeal was directed at any U.S. citizens in the vicinity of the department, as well as members of Congress, whose annual budget allocation to the Treasury Department is forthcoming. "We have, less than 10 ones left right now," Dunn said. "We have a few rolls of quarters we could give out, 4 at a time, but those won't last very long." Early Tuesday morning, Dunn put in a call to the Internal Revenue Service to lend the Treasury any singles it may have on hand from early tax returns. "So far, I haven't heard back from IRS Commissioner Charles Gossett," Dunn said. "I left a message, but he must be real busy this time of year. Hopefully soon." Dunn, who was left in charge of the Treasury in O'Neill's absence, was explicitly told by the Secretary to make sure the department kept plenty of small bills on hand. "This is really getting bad," Dunn said. "All we need is for one more lending institution to come in here and ask us to break a 20, and that's it." Okay. Okay. Item found in garbage to be turned into a lamp someday. Minneapolis. Joe Lennox, 24, a part-time pizza delivery driver and 1997 University of Minnesota dropout, rescued a 3-foot length of metallic pipe from the trash Monday in the hope of one day converting it into a lamp. "The dumpster was filled with all sorts of cool stuff," Lennox said. "There was an old clothes rack, a bunch of mannequin heads, and this huge stack of records. Everything from Poco to Montavani. But when I saw that pipe, I immediately pictured it as a lamp. I'm so psyched that I snagged it before somebody else did," added Lennox. "Who would throw out something like this? This is such a perfect piece to make something with." In spite of the fact that he had never made a lamp before and lacks electrical wiring experience, Lennox said he is confident he can transform the pipe into a lamp. "Making a lamp should be cake," Lennox said. "I'm sure a roommate." Dick Donovan has one of those Time Life books on wiring or something. A self-described found object hobbyist Lennox frequently brings home discarded items for use in art projects. Recent finds include a frayed rug, a bass drum pedal, 3 broken televisions, and a piece of a hamster habit rail. With the exception of the rug, which has been turned into a decorative wall hanging, the rest of the objects still await use. I was going to use the pedal as like one of those open closed foot things on a garbage can, Lennox said, but the garbage can I was going to attach it to was too big, so that's temporarily on hold until I can find a smaller one. Though tolerant at first, Lennox's 3 housemates have, in recent months, begun to become irritated by his hobby. He drags useless crap home all the time, housemate Jeffrey Warson said. There's an entire box of doll limbs and torsos under the kitchen table. He kept saying he was going to glue them all to his chair and make some kind of Texas Chainsaw Massacre throne. But that still hasn't happened. Neither has a chair made out of wooden wine cases that he was so excited about last summer. Some of the stuff he makes is cool, like the poker chip dispenser he made from one of those old Mr. Mouse games, roommate Mike Mosdale said. But most of it never gets turned into anything. It just sits there and takes up space. In addition to adding clutter to an already cramped apartment, some of Lennox's acquisitions are potentially dangerous. Joe brought home these old printing plates, Wilson said. He put like 6 of them up on the bathroom wall, and 2 of them have already fallen down because of the humidity from the shower. And the ones that are still up have these razor sharp edges. Every time I ask him when he's going to finish it, he tells me he just needs to borrow some tin snips to fit to the corners. He doesn't care that we're in danger of slicing ourselves open on the edges of these stupid plates. Last month, Lennox brought home a wooden door he found on the way home from the Nowhere Bar. I was on my way home when I cut down an alley, Lennox said. I found this bizarre door with all these pages from a Reader's Digest, condensed book pasted on it, and each page had a picture drawn on it. I took it, planning to make it a living room table. I thought we could use that instead of the Dukes of Hazzard TV trays I found last October. But then I changed my mind. Explaining his decision to abandon the project, Lennox said the table would have been ill-suited for its intended space. It was just a bit too big for the living room, Lennox said. We could have fit it around it to eat or drink beer while watching TV. But it would have been a pain to get around if no one was using it. I figured out how I could make this cool pulley system to hoist it up to the ceiling. But then I would have had to put the legs on hinges so I could fold them under. Otherwise, you'd clock your head when you walked under it. The door is currently leaning up against the wall behind the couch. I have the vision of Joe in 20 years, Mosdale said. He's going to be one of those crazy people you hear about that has years' worth of newspapers and empty tin cans stacked up in his bedroom. The neighbors will complain about the smell, and the city will have to order him to remove it, or face eviction. Lennox blames the pile-up on a lack of equipment. The big problem is, I don't have enough tools to do what I want, Lennox said. I should really get myself a good circular saw, a hot glue gun, and a cordless drill. That'll make it way easier to follow through on all these projects. It would help if I had more time too, but I'm pretty busy trying to hustle for work and looking for more cool stuff. And back to ads.